Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 221 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durk as per usual, talking all things Whitecaps and footy. And yeah, let's start with those Vancouver Whitecaps. So, undefeated to start the season, clean sheets to start the season. Not the most exciting wins to start the season. There are some concerns with the attack, but you know the old saying, a win's a win.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much to be concerned just yet. You got to remember that two of the three games that the Whitecaps have played so far are against teams that are in the second half of their season. They're running and good to go, right?
Right.
The game against
Real Salt Lake.
Salt Lake, I mean, it's a bit of a slog, but you're seeing the patterns there. It's just a matter of getting everyone on the same page, and that's going to come. I'm not too worried about it at this point. You got to remember, at this point last year, the Whitecaps were already doing pretty decently after three games. They had lost their first Champions Cup game against Saprissa at that point, but we still didn't really know who this team was yet at that time. I'm much more optimistic at this point this year than I was at this point last year.
Yeah. Last year, remember, the Whitecaps were scoring in bunches. This time, not so much. But I feel like it'll come. First half against RSL, the attack's final third still wasn't that great. Thomas Muller did hit the post early in the game. More on him hitting posts later. Brian White still looked pretty isolated. And yeah, RSL was tough to break down with their mid to low block. And RSL, on the other hand, on the counterattack, they didn't really do much. It was mostly a Whitecaps traffic.
The one thing with this season so far that we've seen is the Whitecaps have dominated the possession in every game they've been in, and they've dominated the shots in every game they've been in. You take a look at this game against RSL, they had almost 60% possession, and the shots 13-10, 5 versus 2 on target. Those two shots on target in the RSL game are the only two shots on target that the Whitecaps have faced this entire season so far. I think defensively, this team is set.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. And they've already had 5 different players in that back line. Laborda being the odd man out the match yesterday. So I'm not too worried about it. On top of that, you have depth right behind that is ready to go. And eventually you're going to have another one of your top center backs coming back in Ranko Veselinovic, who's only going to strengthen that even more.
Yeah, and let's not forget 2 more attackers are coming in after their visas are getting figured out. You got the young Bruno Caicedo and the experienced Sheikh Sabali.
Sabali's visa, as far as I know, is now
done.
Good. He's now training.
Bruno's is taking some time.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. Yeah, I guess breaking down low blocks is a concern, but breaking down low blocks is just hard for any team in general. Even the best teams in the Premier League can't break down low blocks. But the Whitecaps did score in the second half. The second half was a lot better anyway. AZ, who gets his first Whitecaps goal after a great overlapping run by Tate Johnson. AZ on the one time beats Cabral, and that turns out to be the game winner.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like that big of anything in the buildup, but I think the shot kind of fooled everyone. It kind of seemed like that half shot, half pass, and just caught the post, the inside of the post of the far on the far side. It was enough. I think it was really, really good. He's a player I didn't know much about coming into the league. I would say he's slowly growing on me. Less to do with the RSL game, more to do with the game yesterday when he came on.
Yeah. But it's been a decent start for AZ on the Vancouver Whitecaps. But
right now, he's the one who's kind of trying to cement that left-hand side as his own. Him and Cabrera.
Right. Yeah, and the RSL game, home opener in front of 23K. You could argue it could have been more, but still, a win is a win. And was nice to see them wear the new Coastal jersey, and it looks
Yep.
a lot better in person. I'll say that. I kind of like them now. I'll say it that. And
I'm a fan. I'm still the fan.
yeah, RSL really on the attack they didn't really have anything, though they did have that one chance by Hani on Takaoka, I believe, in the second half, but Takaoka handled it really easily.
Yeah,
That was
and
their own
again, it
shot on
wasn't even a
target.
shot on target. So
Yeah, and no Diego Luna did hurt
no,
them.
yeah. Um, I think all in all, it's a positive start to the MLS season. You want to get off with a win. We've also talked about how difficult this schedule is going to be once we get towards those kind of that pre World Cup days. March 3rd is actually 100 days to the World Cup. So, I
Yeah,
mean, it's not that far out. And at
it is
that
not.
point, we know the Whitecaps are going to be spending a lot of time on the road. So, to get these wins right now are very important.
Yeah, especially in front of the home crowd for a
Yeah.
large punk of the part of the next few months. Got to give the home crowd some stuff to cheer for, and they did against
Yeah.
RSL and last night against Cartagines in the second leg. Another slow, sluggish first half. Dominated possession we're creating, but the ball couldn't go into the net. Brian White was way more involved this time around. Fortunately, he had one cleared off the line. He had a couple missed headers, and he even took a penalty, which was saved. Uh,
Not a good penalty take.
yeah,
It
it was.
was
And
it
White
was
isn't really the best
tense.
at
Yeah.
penalties.
He doesn't normally. No, normally when
It's
everyone is fit and healthy, you had either
you have
Gald
goal
or
Muller.
last year Mueller. And that's always been the case. It's always been unique that your striker, your main goal scorer, is not the one doing the penalties, but that's always been the case.
Yeah, it'll come for Brian White. I'm not too concerned because we've seen him go on these
He
droughts,
scores in bunches.
and then once he gets one, let's say he gets one on the weekend, he'll just go off.
Yeah. Again, another game where the Whitecaps dominated. 68% possession, 21 shots to Cartagena 5. And Cartagena, again, 0 shots. They had 0 shots on target throughout the 180 minutes.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that tells you right there just how good this back line is being. Obviously, we got to worry about some yellow cards. Now, the thing is yellow cards get wiped at this round, heading into the round of 16. But anyone who had those 2 yellow cards will be out for the first match of that, and that will be Andres Cubas, who picked up a second yellow when he came on as a sub. Bit of a weak yellow.
First leg against Seattle.
Yeah, a bit of a weak yellow, but you kind of felt it might be coming because this referee was quite
He was letting a
with his
lot
yellow
go
cards. Let's put it that way.
as well in the first half.
Yeah, he actually gave out 6 yellows in the game, 3 each side. So
Yeah, at least it was even distribution.
yeah,
Yes, first half, you're creating, but the attack was toothless. There was a lot of concern between me and other Whitecaps fans saying, "Oh God, they better not blow this." But second half, Thomas Muller comes on, and things change. Whitecaps look more fluid, more quicker. Thomas Muller had 2 posts in that half, so that's 3 posts in 2 games for him.
yeah. White had a header off the post.
Yeah,
There's 3 posts in that second half alone. Like this tie could have been 2-0 over the 2 legs. Good, you got the win, but it actually could have been a lot more easier.
yeah. But the Whitecaps did get the breakthrough in the 58th minute. Corner kick. Cartaginians were ball watching. Blackman with the flick on, and Kenji Cabrera slides the ball in.
Yeah. Good on Kenji Cabrera for that kind of that instinctual readiness. I don't think he expected the ball to make it all the way to him at the far post, but he was prepared. He was ready to go. And I feel like he's picking up just where he left off last year. He's getting more game time, which hopefully will give him the confidence to kind of push up his game. He is one of those players that I feel has taken a step up.
Yeah. And he's going to get more minutes this season for sure because of how high the club is on him, given his potential. Yeah, and he really picked off where he showed last year. Like, you can tell there's a player in this guy.
He's also a project too, right? Like this is a guy that they brought in. He's a U22, isn't he?
Yeah. One
Yeah,
of Peru's top prospects.
yeah, but it's like Pedro Vite, right? Like we kind of knew who Pedro could be when he came in, but it took a while to get there. It's going to take a while for Kenji Cabrera too. He's going to ebb and flow.
Right. And yeah, but just the Whitecaps kept pushing in the second half, and AZ off the bench makes things happen. He's the one that cuts in and finds Sebastian Berhalter. His first shot's blocked, but his second, no mistake.
Yeah.
And Berhalter gets his first of the season.
This was the game that I felt I really started to see AZ for who he was. I felt that he affected the game much more than the RSL game, even though he had the goal in that match. The intensity just got ramped up with Mueller and AZ coming in. It felt like the Whitecaps of last year in playing they were always playing their style, but in that first half, it felt like they were, I don't know, like they were second guessing everything. They were like they knew what they were supposed to do, but they weren't quite on the same page. And passes weren't connecting either.
No,
the second half was much more fluid, much more natural. And I think that helped when you had such a dominant leader on the pitch like a Thomas Mueller, and then AZ with the speed and the sense of intensity that comes with a player like that, and starting to run things a little bit through that left channel.
Yeah, and Whitecaps ended up getting the 2-0 win. I should also mention Jeevan Badwal has a really good start to this season.
Great start to the season.
He's played in the 10, and he's played back in his normal defensive midfielder position.
He played wing.
He's calm with the ball, good passes, and I just feel like his dribbling has improved this year because now he's taking on defenders. He's driving to the net.
Well, he was the guy in the first half who was actually putting crosses into the box.
Yeah. And remember against RSL, he had that one drive to the net.
Yeah.
That looked like a hockey power forward.
Yeah. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he plays with size.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to knock him over, you got to really kind of steamroll into him. And that's what players are trying to do. And the one thing is it means that every time he goes over, he's picking up fouls for the other team.
Yeah, I think he drew like at least 5 fouls last night.
It felt that way, right?
Yeah, and I feel like his creativity is starting to show. I didn't really think I thought of him like not really a creative player, but he's really showing that so far to start this season. Overall, I mean, there is concerns about the attack, but Jesper Sorensen said he's not too concerned about that because it will come. He said he would be concerned if they weren't
he would have been more concerned if they weren't getting the opportunities, and they are getting the opportunities. Everything else after that will come. So they're getting themselves in the right positions, which is positive.
Yeah, the schedule, like we're playing against a team that's mid-season, and they're playing every 3 days, but they'll definitely figure things out, especially if they get healthier. So I'm not really I mean, I have concerns, but I'm not like thinking this is the end of the world with the Whitecaps attack. But they better figure it out as soon as possible.
Again, not worried. You also mentioned the fact that we've got 2 guys that we haven't seen yet that are going to be coming in. We'll flesh out that attack and give them a lot more options to use. It also means that when someone is on the pitch, they're going to be well rested and ready to go because you have the ability to rotate. Something that's going to be very, very important for the Whitecaps this year in the calendar that we know that we're going to have to play against.
Yeah. So this weekend, a Canadian derby, Toronto FC come to town, who are pretty much wrapping up the big signing of Josh Sargent. No, he will not play this weekend, but Toronto FC lost their opener against FC Dallas 3-2 in a game where Peter Musa got 2 goals. And for Toronto, Jordy Mihailovic and Derek Etienne Jr.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad game for Toronto. Like, it was a fairly even affair. They just, luck of the draw. They just didn't get that one extra goal to either draw or try to pull ahead.
Yeah, didn't have the best start either. Like
Toronto, I think is another team that's going to take a little bit to get moving, and it's simply because they need all their pieces clicking together, and they brought in some. They did some pretty big changes this offseason, starting with Mihalovic to kind of run the show.
So they come last year.
Yeah.
And bring in Walker Zimmerman for the back line.
Yeah. But Mihalovic, I mean, even though he's been there, but he was still in the offseason, right? So it's going to take time for them to click. We'll have to wait and see how it does. I still think Fraser is one of those coaches whose seat is a little warm. And I think it's because of the signings they brought in that, the executives and brass are going to want an immediate impact. And I wonder if it doesn't happen in the first few matches, if he's going to get the time he actually needs, especially when you've got a couple of coaches waiting on the wings with no job.
Yeah, who failed in Europe, basically.
Exactly.
And
one of them in particular who has Canadian experience.
Right. And I just feel with Toronto that Robin Fraser, if they don't, get off to a good start, especially like the Whitecaps, they have a bunch of home games to start the season. He could be given the boot, especially with the squad that they have now, which is much stronger, which also includes Daniel Shallowy,
and much more expensive.
I always saw Toronto as a team heading into the season as a team that could make the playoffs, like 6th or 7th, or a play-in team. But they still got their
top. The East is a very, very tough conference. I would say tougher than the West.
Yeah.
If they make top 8, that'd be good for them.
Yeah, and it's going to take time for certain signings to gel in, and once Josh Sargent comes in, don't expect him to the ground running right away. He's
exactly
going to take.
Oh, especially since it's been a while since he has actually played because of his temper tantrum in Norwich.
Yeah, so Toronto come to town this weekend. Last time these two teams met was last season in a 0-0 draw at Rainy BMO Field, but I feel like this is another game the Whitecaps should win. Though don't expect, like a blowout or anything. But should also worth mentioning that Emmanuel Sabby suspended due to violent conduct in the game against RSL.
Yep. That was something that was brought in by the MLS disciplinary committee. Lots of videos of it going around. It's it's very surprising that it wasn't given in the game.
Yeah.
Or picked up by VAR, because that's one that you got to think they would have looked at and said, hey, check out for a red card. But that's also why the disciplinary committee exists, right? One of the reasons.
Yeah, and at least they got it, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting, hopefully, the Whitecaps to at least, try to get more rhythm in their attack, because I feel like that's the main thing with the attack right now: cohesion and rhythm.
Yep.
They'll gotta go against an improved Toronto FC, not an elite Toronto FC, but an improved Toronto FC. And of course, Richie Laray's antics.
You love him when he's on your team.
Yeah, but this time he is on opponent. So Toronto FC this weekend, and for Champions Cup, Whitecaps will face Seattle Sounders.
Seattle was given a bye in the first round, so they haven't played in this competition yet.
Yeah, and just checking here, their first leg will be at BC Place on March the 12th. As a result, the March 14th regular season game against Minnesota United is now on Sunday at 1:30, which is actually a pretty cool start time.
Yeah.
And then due to Lumen Field getting renovated for the World Cup, the Whitecaps will be heading to Gonzaga country in Spokane for the second leg against Seattle on March 18th.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Thomas Muller will play in a college stadium.
Oh, I'm sure he's played in worse in some crazy Champions League games in Europe.
At least this stadium is mainly used for soccer, so we won't see like American
Oh
football
yeah,
lines.
yeah, painted lines. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yep. So, um, big news this weekend for the Whitecaps. Good news after weeks of like doom headlines.
Yeah.
Andres Kubas and Tristan Blackman, obvious two keys to the core for the Whitecaps, have new deals.
Yeah, both of them have signed contract extensions for the next couple of years. Uh, Blackman, obviously, there was the rumors of is he not going to Miami? We all remember the cryptic photo of palm trees, which turned out just to be his hometown of Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Andres Cubas, there was the possibility of a move to Brazil in the offseason. He chose to stay in Vancouver, largely due to discussions with his family and how much his family have made Vancouver
yeah.
their home.
He and his family really like it here.
Yeah, which is really, really nice to hear as well. Interesting with Kubas's contract, he is no longer a DP. He is
Yeah.
on a TAM level contract, so paying down his much, which means, ironically, is that he's no longer a DP, but now his total salary counts against the cap. So the Whitecaps actually have less cap space because of how they signed Kubas. What it does open them up, though, is now it opens up both of the pathways. The Whitecaps could go for the two DPs for U22 roster players because now they only have Mueller and Gald as DPs, or they could look to fill that DP spot. It's up to them.
Yeah, for now they're going with a 2 DP 4 U22 roster model. So in the summer they could sign another U22 player. I believe they have 3 right now.
Yeah, right now both pathways are open.
Or especially in the event of someone like Sebastian Berhalter leaving after the World Cup, they can open up another DP spot for another midfielder. So
yeah, it's gonna be a busy year for the Whitecaps. We all know what's going to come at the end of the year, but the midseason, especially after the World Cup, and you see that merry-go-round of not only managers but players, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
So Kubis signed until 2028, Blackman until 2030. Both these guys are turning 30 this year.
Yeah,
still in their prime. Both still have a few good years left in him. So that kind of
both are defensive-minded players, which usually get a few more years than attack-minded players. So that's also nice to hear as well.
So that kind of stretches the window open a little bit.
Yeah.
Further. So another few years to go all in for MLS Cup and more.
The other news is Pierre, Nelson Pierre, has moved on a season-long loan to FC Tulsa of the USL Championship. Good move. We saw flashes of him last year in a few matches here and there. Not a whole lot. When Ryan Alumi moved up to the first team, if we were going to see anyone from kind of Whitecaps 2 on the pitch, it was usually him. So I think this is a good move for Pierre to get game time consistently and, hopefully after years show what he has.
Yeah. And we talked about before the season that he would be the likely odd man out because he needs the minutes, and it's happened. So good luck to him in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we'll see what he can do and see if he'll be back next year. So that's the Whitecaps. Big MLS rumor, courtesy of Tom Bogert, Fabrizio Romano, and Mario Cortegana. Antoine Griezmann, the French star of Atletico Madrid, is in talks with, of all MLS teams, Orlando City. However, Orlando's offer is allegedly good for 3 years. So this is not a contract. This is an offer. So he can accept any time within the next 3 years.
Which is really weird, and in my mind kind of casts MLS in a bit of a poor light, because it's like Griezmann didn't say yes, didn't say no. He's kind of just waiting around. So Orlando says, we're going to be here for you. We're waiting. It's like, like the guy waiting for the girl who never quite shows up, right?
Right. And
it's going to be weird to see. Like Diego Simeone of Atletico Madrid, did talk about it a little bit in a press conference and mentioned how much affection he has for Griezmann and what he offers and how they'd like him to stay, but said it is 100% Griezmann's decision. If he decides it's the best for him to move at this time, it doesn't sound like the club is going to stand in his way. Now it's just up to the player. And I don't think Orlando is a surprising destination. It's not Miami, it's not LAFC, but it is in Florida, right? Like it is there, and Orlando doesn't want to be second fiddle.
Yeah, I think they're tired of being second fiddle to Miami, and this would be great for the Florida Derby.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is. Is like for so long, Orlando was all there was in Florida after the Miami's first team kind of went bye. So they're kind of a bit of the forgotten child right now because of Miami and what they've done and their spending, and every second story happens to be about Miami and their players. Orlando wants to get back, right? They don't want to just be a team that creeps into the playoffs. They want to be competing for things as well, and this is the pathway they've chosen.
Yeah, they made the conference final 2 years ago, and last year they got knocked out of the wild card round, so they want to be an elite team. So if this does happen, Antoine Griezmann will play with Maxime Crepeau.
But I still feel like make the deal. If he's going to waffle, say thanks and move on. Don't just hold it open in the hopes.
For years, Griezmann has talked about wanting to play in MLS.
Yeah, and if that's the case, do it. You can decide to come back for him next year if you want, but don't just keep a deal open. It looks too desperate.
Right. According to this reporter named Manu Serrano, I believe he's based out of Spain, it seems like it's very close. I don't know how reliable he is, and his last game would take place if they won the Metropolitano against Real Sociedad on March 7th. So I don't know how reliable this source is, but
it'd be nice if it gets done. Right?
It'd be nice if it gets done, yeah. And Griezmann was linked to LAFC for a long time, but since I think LAFC have used all their DP spots, I guess it makes sense for him to go somewhere else, as like Orlando. And I don't think Orlando is playing the Whitecaps this season.
I'd have to take a look at the schedule off the top of my head.
Unless they make MLS Cup against each other. I'm just looking here at the schedule. No, they're not playing this season. So no chance to see Griezmann this season unless they meet at MLS Cup at PC Place.
Right.
All right. So the MLS executive survey has come out courtesy of The Athletic, and the Whitecaps are in multiple categories at near or at the top spot.
For better or worse, depending on the category.
Yes.
A couple of categories that they make is obviously ones that we are not surprised of. Best goalkeeper, best defender, best midfielder. I mean, you think of those three positions, those players in Takioka, Blackman, and Berhalter were nominated in their respective categories for their position last year. So it's not surprising. Blackman tops the list for best defender. Sebastian Berhalter comes second for midfielder, and then Takioka.
He's first in best value contract.
He is the best in best value contract, which right now, yes. But that contract is scary because it's not going to be that way if they're able to hold on to him.
Yeah. For worse stadium, I'm not really surprised by this.
Yeah.
BC Place. And I'm reading here is that one of the executives said, both New England with Gillette Stadium and Vancouver are too big for the teams and both have turf. If I had to pick one, Vancouver's turf is worse. It's on concrete and it's indoors. Not a great start.
There were a couple. Like you take a look at stadiums, and Gillette Stadium and Audi Field for DC United only was one vote less than BC Place, but very, very much not a good look. The second part of the survey came out where it kind of looked at MLS going forward and asked more open-ended questions. What do executives feel about salary cap, the future of MLS? A lot of that's up in the air because Don Garber is in the last year of his contract as commissioner. There's starting to be talk about who might take over that position, and a few names have been thrown about already. But one thing it did mention is of players in MLS who might have a breakout in the World Cup. And Berhalter's name was mentioned a few times. I think he was listed as the second most likely behind Matt Freese. So again, when you think of the World Cup and how much a player's individual stock can rise,
Yep.
Berhalter is one of those names when people think of who is the next player to move to Europe. And again, this survey did talk about that as well. Berhalter's name was mentioned there as well. You got to remember, Sebastian is American, but he was born in London, England. So
thanks to his dad's playing career.
Exactly. So there is, I don't know, in terms of visas, an easier pathway. I mean, it's not like it's a difficult pathway to move if you're a professional sports player anyway, but it does probably make you a bit more attractive to teams over there.
Especially if he makes the U.S. squad and actually does well.
Well, and that's a big question too. It's by no means a guarantee, but if you can think of on the U.S. MNT, a player from MLS who could do it, Berhalter, especially because he also has really, really impressed Pochettino when he has been called up.
Yeah, and when he has been called up, he scored goals and actually doing things on the pitch. It's not like he's rotting on the bench.
He's also carved himself a spot similar to like the Whitecaps, where he is one of those set piece guys.
Yeah, and we'll see what's in store for Sebastian Berhalter, and if he does leave, hopefully the Whitecaps get a good fee for him.
Yeah.
Back to Canada, some concerning news. First with Alphonso Davies, who in his last game with Bayern Munich picked up another injury.
Yeah. Now the thing is it doesn't seem like it's as bad as it is for Alphonso Davies. Actually, today he actually took in sprint and running training for 20 minutes with Bayern. So he's not training fully, but he is not in the gym. Like he is actually on the pitch doing runs, testing that leg out. So it does sound like it's not near as bad as what was.
Yeah, it's a slight hamstring tear, and Bayern said 3 to 6 weeks. So, and the fact that he's actually doing laps, and no brace or anything, that's a good sign.
Yeah, this is also one of those injuries. It does happen somewhat often after players come back from a major injury such as an ACL. Your body is still trying to get up to what your match fitness level was, and there can be setbacks. So this kind of feels like it's just a setback of that original injury.
Yeah, but
now,
of course, Bayern are not going to rush him.
No, there's no need.
Unfortunately, more serious injury to USG striker Promise David, who fell awkwardly in the Belgian league, and apparently it's a hip injury and will go under hip surgery confirmed by Union SG and will be sidelined for several months. They're looking 3 to 5 months.
Yeah, 3 to 5. Promise is bullish on being ready for the World Cup. I think even if you are ready to go, the amount of rehab that comes after that, getting ready to match fitness, I don't know. I don't know. The one thing I will say is this is the door open for Kyle Larin again.
Yep.
And Kyle Larin has kind of picked the right team in Southampton to apply his trade because they're starting to pick up in the championship.
Yeah, and he even starting to pick up his form as well.
Yeah. Didn't he score his first game?
Yeah, he did. And it's such a promise because given his skill set, looked like a big weapon for the World Cup.
He looked like possibly a starter.
Yeah.
Because him, and now Jonathan David has picked up as well. But he has been the most consistent Canadian striker for their respective club.
Yeah, so this gives another chance for Kyle Larin. But for Promise David, it's very doubtful at this point.
Right now. I mean, it's early days. Who knows what happens?
Yeah, but it's a hip injury,
It's a
and
it's an awkward one.
yeah, given the way he just fell was
Yeah,
very awkward and had to be stretchered off. And he's doing well too, which
very well,
also
very well.
is another big blow.
Yep.
So speedy recovery, hopefully to both Alfonso Davies and Promise David. Back to Canada again. So the 27 years old David Norman Jr. CPL player has decided to hang up the boots.
Uh, I don't think anyone is surprised. Norman Jr. has had a career that has honestly, it feels like this guy has been playing as long as I've been alive. I
100
don't know why.
CPL appearances.
Yeah, and I mean playing all over the world as well. I don't know where he's going to go next. It does sound like he has something lined up, but it might not be in football, like Ben Fisk, who's kind of moving into the office with Calgary, I believe.
Yep.
But all the best to Dave Noonan Jr. and where he decides to go.
Yep. New Westminster native, played also Whitecaps FC2 player formerly.
Yeah.
Did not play a single team with the first game with the first team. Also did play was part of Inter Miami, but did not make a single appearance. Played for Cavalry, Northampton Town, St. Patrick's Athletic, and of course Vancouver SC. So all the best to him, and we'll see what comes next for David Norman Jr.
Yep.
Doesn't feel like he's been around for a while.
Like I said, it feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah. And all CPL teams have just bowed out of the Champions Cup. And, it still goes to show the gap between the CPL and MLS and other teams in CONCACAF. And you have to wonder, should they bring back the CONCACAF League as a secondary competition for these teams? And remember, these CPL teams this is basically preseason for them.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for the CPL, preseason doesn't start until next week. So this is almost like a preseason. These guys really are not ready to go. I think there's an argument for it. I hate to say it, I don't see it happening, especially because it does seem like the way CONCACAF is going is to reignite the Caribbean Cup competition in Central America. And unfortunately, reigniting those two things kind of leaves Canada as the odd country out, unless you decide to add maybe a Canadian berth into those competitions. You're going to have a lot of travel, but as a secondary competition, it is at this stage more comparable competition for CPL teams.
Yeah. On aggregate, Atletico Ottawa lost 7-0 to Nashville on aggregate. Vancouver FC 8-0, and a bit closer, but still not as close enough. Forge on aggregate 4-1 against Tigres.
Yeah. It's not a good look, I think, overall.
Yeah, it's not
it's something should be
19
done. I mean,
to 1
you can even point to other countries out there and how they're not really able to compete at the level with some of these things. And the best is taking a look at FC Cincinnati when they're going against O&M last night. I think on aggregate they won 13-0. Last night was 9-0.
Yeah, and FC Cincinnati's kids just lit up O&M.
Yeah. So I do think that the conversation needs to happen, but I don't know if the CONCACAF League is the path they'll take.
Yeah, but a conversation will happen. Other MLS teams obviously are through. Well, LA Galaxy barely got by Sporting San Miguelito. There's a lot of concern there.
Galaxy is sluggish. I was messaging back and forth with a little bit with Edgar, friend of the show, with news around the Galaxy. Galaxy doesn't seem like a team that's ready yet. They were playing against a team that wanted to park the bus and not
Yeah.
really push anything ahead, similar to what the Whitecaps were with Cartagenos. Um, I kind of feel like Galaxy are in the same path, maybe not to the level of expectation as the Whitecaps, but they're still trying to figure
Figure
themselves
things
out
out.
as well.
Yeah.
So it's early days, right? You just
Right.
gotta wait for it to happen.
All right, let's move over to Europe. So Chelsea drew 1-1 against Burnley. Same old Chelsea. And they failed to beat all three relegated, well, not relegated, all three promoted teams at home this season, which is an absolutely terrible stat.
Yeah.
Same old, same old. So João Pedro scores again. He's continuing to prove he's him. 4 minutes in, great ball from Caicedo to Pedro Neto, an absolutely smart assist to find João Pedro. But after that, they again failed to close the game out. Missing chances, poor defending, looking passive in attack. Again, this team lacks a killer instinct after going up 1-0. And to make things worse, they get another red card, and they have as many red cards as home wins this season. This time, Wesley Fofana on a yellow already, clips the guy, easy second yellow. Very dumb. And he'll miss the next game against Arsenal. And of course, fans online are, making racist comments towards him. And of course, as dumb as that was, there's no excuse to make racist comments towards Wesley Fofana.
Or
The
any
club
other.
has to put out a statement on that.
Yeah.
And then Liam Senior, his game management this time wasn't the greatest, especially bringing on Tosin, who, again, what is it with this guy who has the tools to be good in the air and just can't win an aerial duel? And then as a result, the corner, Zian Fleming, ties the game up for Burnley. Another missed opportunity, another game where Chelsea shot themselves in the foot. Burnley, promoted side. Chelsea struggling against promoted sides this season. And Liam Senior apparently showed off his angry side in the dressing room in this game against Burnley and last game against Leeds. I can't blame the guy, even though he had his faults as well. But
yeah,
the mentality of this team after going up 1-0, just not good enough at all. So Chelsea, as it stands, sit fifth in the EPL table. Manchester United have leapfrogged them. I mentioned saying that a few months ago.
Michael Carrick.
Yeah, Michael Carrick. 48 points for Manchester United, 45 for Chelsea. They're tied with Liverpool, but Chelsea are ahead due to goal difference. And I think, again, thanks to Champions League, it's top 5 that makes the Champions League next season. But at this point,
Maybe.
I don't really make top 4. Whoa, hey, I don't care. Top 4 shouldn't be the goal. It's competing for the title. And yeah, I would be indifferent if they just make top 4. But if they win a trophy, whether that's the Champions League or the FA Cup, I'll be happy. So sure, make top 4, I guess, and win one of the remaining trophies available, whether that's the FA Cup or Champions League. And speaking of the Champions League, they will face either Newcastle or PSG in the round of 16. All English affair or Club World Cup final rematch.
There you go.
And then this weekend, Chelsea face league leaders Arsenal at Stamford Bridge and have a chance to do the funniest thing. Please. It would be hilarious. It would be glorious. No.
We couldn't get it done, so it's on you now.
Yeah, it's on us, except there will be no Fofana and no Marco Cucurella, who's still out with a hamstring injury. And this just came in for Chelsea. According to BBC, Chelsea have recorded a pre-tax loss of £355 million for 2024-2025.
Yikes.
It is the highest annual loss ever made by an English football club and the second in European history, following Barcelona losing £484 million pounds in 2021.
I'm just reading that right now. Wow.
Yeah. They brought in less money than obviously Manchester City and Liverpool. Ninth in ticket sales, but still 28 million pounds less than Liverpool. Obviously, that's due to capacity with Stamford Bridge only being 41K.
UEFA
Far
also reports that Chelsea's playing squad is the most expensively assembled squad in football history. It cost 1.52 billion pounds to assemble.
Yeah, far and they made far less merchandising and kit sales than
Yeah.
the other big five. And the Club World Cup, as big as it was, it did not help. And expenses have continued to rise due to utility, transport, insurance, marketing, and administration. Well done, Clear Lake. Well done, Blueco. Just spending money on kids. I guess this is what happens, and not getting a shirt sponsor permanently. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, they do have a new shirt sponsor. IFSAI is the new shirt sponsor, but it'll only be until the end of this season. 3 years, no permanent shirt sponsor. And they
That's
were linked to Qatar Airways, Oracle, and Riyadh Air.
honestly, it makes you wonder what was Chelsea demanding? Like, were they just lowballing companies?
No,
Or
they wanted 60 million plus. Like they wanted max value. But
after
they're
3 years, I mean, think of how much money you've lost by just not having one. You got to settle for something else. People are not willing to spend that much money.
yeah, I don't know. I would have just stuck with Infinite Athlete from a couple of years ago. That actually looked nice. Or Demac.
Also,
But
it's not a betting company.
yeah, but and this one's an AI company.
Yeah,
I mean, I do
that's not
work
much
in
better.
AI,
Actually,
so
that might even be
I feel
worse.
indifferent. I feel indifferent.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good on the shirt. But Riyadh Air or Qatar Airways would have.
Yeah.
I don't know what or Oracle, but same old Chelsea. But for Tottenham, it really does feel like relegation is a strong possibility,
I'm scared.
as you
um,
should be.
it wasn't good against Arsenal. Arsenal ran riot around around Spurs. Koulibaly finally got his first Premier League goal. Get
Oh,
that
really? It took him
after this
that
long
long.
time, and he had a second that again was ruled to that he was ruled to have fouled a player inside the box. I gotta admit, if that's a foul, I my line of what a foul is, it has to be completely redrawn because that was one of the biggest dives I've ever seen. If that second goal would have happened, it would have been 2-2. This game could have had a bit of a different outcome. I don't really have a lot of hope that would have been the case. But anyway, this puts Spurs still locked in, I want to say 16th, only 4 points above the drop. And you take a look at the teams around them and who you think might survive. I don't have a lot of hope for Spurs right now. The main thing is, it looks like the players are playing for themselves and not playing for the club. They're playing for whatever their contract is going to be next season away from Spurs, which is pretty damning to say. And that goes for even players that I've historically really, really liked. Mickey Van de Ven, Christian Romero, Papisar. Like, it doesn't look like anyone is playing for this club anymore. And you saw it with Tudor on the touchline, screaming at his players, to especially at Mickey Van de Ven to move up. Like, he wants to play with a higher defensive line, and players just simply ignoring him. Players aren't playing for this club anymore. And at that point, you have a very big problem. Now, the thing is Tudor's had one game, and you already have people talking about who's his replacement going to be for the rest of the season. One game, right? Now, I get it. Tudor is a player that, or a coach that usually is not really well liked by his players, but that's not what he was brought in for. He was brought in to light a fire under these players' ass.
That's what he kind of is. He's like this managerial bounce manager, and he doesn't last long at the club.
No, he gets kind of an initial bounce, but he never lasts. I think the longest he's ever lasted at a club was 13 months. I want to say Udinese. Um, I don't have a whole lot of hope. I don't know what else to say other than that. But the really, really damaging thing is what happens if they actually go down? If they actually go down, what does this mean? So right now, when you take a look at the broadcast league money for the EFL, the broadcast league money for the Champions League, what Spurs make in match day and commercial funds, it works out to about 609 million pounds in those streams alone. Obviously, there's other revenue streams. You change those. Well, your broadcast league is gone because now you're on parachute payments. Champions League is gone. Commercial money it drops significantly. Match day money is about halved. You go from about 609 million pounds to 348 million pounds is what the estimated make would be with Spurs in the championship. On top of that, you would have Spurs having the same problem that Leicester is having this year in the fact that none of the players have in their contracts the fact that they would drop in salary by dropping a league. Most clubs that are kind of in the bottom half of the league have it in their contracts that if you get relegated, your salary will be, about 30 to 50% less. Leicester never put that in their contract, and they're having the problems with it right now in the fact that they're, getting points deductions and possible administration even, if it goes that way for too long. Spurs would be in the same problem as well. So this could be one of those problems where you don't end up just dropping one, but it ends up being a cascading effect. They have the best stadium. They have the best training facilities. They don't have the best team. Not by a long shot. Now, the ENIC and, the representatives of Joe Louis, his kids who have kind of taken over now, Johan Lang, who's the sporting director, they basically said they now realize that, the alarms are running. Like it's klaxons.
Oh, now they realize it.
They have said that if the club stays up, they are completely tearing up the wage structure. They realize they need to start spending money. Now, Conor Gallagher coming across is now the most expensive player on the pitch. He makes 200K pounds per week.
Dang.
But the fact that Spurs have been spending the least out of kind of those top big six arbitrary number for years is a part of the problem. If they want to be seen as a big club, they got to start acting like a big club, and they haven't done that at all. It might be too little too late. And if that's the case, I don't know what the bottom is for this club right now. And that's very, very scary. So that's my doomsday story. Rest well.
Yeah, hang in there.
Yeah.
Because it's been hell for every Spurs fan.
They will face in Champions League the winners of Galatasaray and Atletico Madrid, I believe. And the next game that they actually do have, I want to say, is Fulham away this Sunday.
All right.
There's not that many games. They got to pick up points.
Yeah, true. In order to stay up somehow.
Yeah.
The Champions League has been on crack this week or this past couple of weeks because we have seen some absolutely crazy results. First off, in Milan, where the Winter Olympics just concluded, where Norway had the most medals out of everyone in the games. Funny how a Norwegian team knocks out Inter Milan.
Bodo Glimt. You know what it is? It's from playing north of the Arctic Circle, and it makes beasts out of men.
Yeah. I think all but two of the starting 11 yesterday or the other day were Norwegian.
Good on them.
Norway feels like a sleeping giant in football.
Bodo Glimt has been a team for a while. I remember Spurs playing against them in Europa, and then also in the previous year. They got the job done, but this is not a team to take lightly at all.
No. Inter Milan kept shooting themselves in the foot, but Bodo Glimt and their counterattack, deadly, both legs. I have no idea what Inter Milan's attack were doing. Sure, they didn't miss Lautaro Martinez, but of course, obviously, you can't just play the injury card.
Yeah, that's true.
But Wow, just one of the biggest upsets in Champions League history. And then we also got another Italian team being knocked out. Galatasaray beating Juventus in extra time. Um, and this one was 5-7 on aggregate, which was absolutely crazy. Both teams just trading chances. Well, though Juventus pretty much dominated the game, especially after Lloyd Kelly of Galatasaray got sent off early in the second half. But it wasn't until extra time Galatasaray woke up.
Yeah.
Even though they were up by a man.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. Juventus played better down to 10 men. Sorry, it was Lloyd Kelly, Juventus, getting sent off. And Victor Osimhen and Baris Alper Yilmaz sent Galatasaray to the round of 16.
It's
absolutely
deserved.
crazy.
Yeah.
5-7 on aggregate. And Juventus win the game, but not the tie.
Yeah. Atlanta, Dortmund, another one that was absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, Dortmund were up 2-0, I believe, after the first leg. Yeah, and then Atalanta just, keep going. Two former Chelsea players, I believe, David Zappacosta and Mario Pulisic, scored. I haven't heard those names in years.
Well, Atalanta is also keeping up the hopes of all Italian clubs. I think they're the last Italian club in the Champions League.
I believe they are, yeah. And this has to be like one of the worst defensive performances by a single player in Rami Ben Sibani, involved in all 4 goals and was the one that got sent off for the winning penalty by Lakas Samardzic. Like, this guy's marking was so poor and his awareness was so poor, and then he takes it was accidental, but you can't just kick the guy.
Yeah, you got to be aware of your own body, though.
Exactly. So 4-3 on aggregate. Atalanta win 4-1. Good for their fans.
Yeah.
And good for their club as well in Bergamo. Yeah, just the Champions League has been crazy this week, and the draw for the round of 16 is tomorrow.
There you go.
So we'll see who our teams play in the Champions League.
I was going to say one thing that's scary back to North America with the World Cup is that we're starting to see a lot of fan zones in the United States in danger of happening or being canceled outright by cities due to a lack of funds. Miami is looking at canceling theirs because they're saying that they need about $1 million a day to keep it running, and they're not getting any information out of the American government. You've got Sporting Kansas City looking at the same thing, Foxborough, and now you have the fan zone that's supposed to be outside Gillette Stadium, where the actual final of the World Cup is supposed to happen.
New Jersey.
Not have a fan zone. Now, one of the big problems with this is the funding that they're supposed to be getting from the American government, which right now is in a partial shutdown. So a lot of those funds are frozen. But the problem is a lot of these municipalities aren't even being able to get answers from anyone. They're getting answering machines, and they're getting absolutely nothing from FIFA as well. So they're at the point where, look, we're reaching the point where even if we started to get the funds now, we don't have enough time to do anything. As we talked, it is 100 days from March 3rd until the World Cup. Not a lot of time. Not a lot of time to get things done. And a lot of these municipalities simply are just saying, we've had enough.
Yeah, this whole, not just here in Vancouver, but the whole thing just seems so disorganized.
Yeah.
And then apparently, I remember they were planning to charge fans for fan zones in like New Jersey.
I heard about that as well, which is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, but at least here in Vancouver, they have some sort of plan for it at the PNE.
Yeah.
And one last thing, Sheffield Wednesday and their gong show of a saga. Apparently, buyers are pulling out, and now they're the earliest club to ever get relegated as they're on -7 points.
Yeah, so there are a few I won't say about a month ago, out of all the potential bids that there was for Sheffield Wednesday, there were 4 groups that stepped up and put in the 50 million pound kind of like a retainer to say, like, we'd be there. The preferred bidder was a small consortium led by a retired poker player and a couple of other people that were running it. That were looking to actually take over the bid. They've now pulled out saying, look, we've already put in a few million pounds just to keep the club afloat to this point. But now that the books are fully open, they're starting to see the scope of just how in trouble this club is. And they've pulled out. So it remains to be seen what Sheffield Wednesday does now. In this time, like you just said, they've now been officially relegated to League One of the English pyramid. It is the earliest a club has ever been relegated in England, and they are the only club that has ever been relegated in February.
Yeah.
Ever. So looking at some of the other potentials that were there, one does stand out, and that's Mike Astley, former owner of Newcastle back in the day.
In Newcastle.
We know he has the funds. We know he's not a guy who likes to open the funds. So
not at all.
I don't know if this is the best situation. I'm not entirely sure who the other 2 potential bids were back that did foot the 50 million pounds. I'd have to go and look at that. But this is a club that I honestly wonder for, yes, I know that the history of Sheffield Wednesday, but I do wonder if this is a club that ends up needing to completely fold and have a phoenix rise from the ashes that starts down in,
like
I don't know, League 8 or League 10 or wherever it is they're able to find a spot. But I do feel like this is a club that's going to have to come back from nothing in non-league.
Yeah, it really feels like it's going to be that case. It's a shame because
this could also be a club that is the first club I can think of that finishes on negative points.
Yeah, this is a historic club. Like 18, when was this club founded? Like in mid 1800s. Let me see here, 1867.
Yeah, they're not the oldest club. Oldest professional club is Sheffield United, but they're around there.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Does Mr. Ashley decide to step up?
Yeah, and save Sheffield Wednesday, historic club. So that
right, those clubs in administration, right? So if the and it's under control of the administrator,
right?
If they have enough, if they've had enough, this club is done. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about a bidder. And on top of it, they just got beaten yesterday as well by Ali Ahmed's Norwich City in a 2-0 affair.
2-0. Yep. So that concludes this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. We'll be back next week talking all things Whitecaps and football. I'm on Twitter, JoshuaRay00, Nathan at Enduric, podcast at Terminal City FC. Check out all our YouTube channel and our Twitter, Blue Sky pages, Instagram pages. All our articles for Area 51 Sports Network. And we'll be back next week, hopefully talking about some more Whitecaps goals.
You got it.
That concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.